Welcome to Fun is Fundamental. Fun is Fundamental is a podcast for those who realize that the enjoyment of life is about having something deep in our souls which lights our fire. It's for those who maybe have lost that fire and feel like they are missing out on the pleasures of life. In each episode, I will share recent fun activities and focus on why having fun is essential for good health. I'm your host, Alenia, and I invite you to take this journey with me and join the pleasure-seeking movement. Hi, Lisa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you today.
I'm so glad to have you here. And can you tell the audience a little bit about your coaching business?
Yeah. So what I do is coaching together with Family Constellations. And Family Constellations is a tool that we have to work with things that we don't actually have experienced in our lives, but we're experiencing them because we carry it from our ancestors. So it's kind of like a therapy. And we're carrying all this unconscious, but it affects our lives in many ways. It affects our lives with abundance, with success, with being able to, have fun, to enjoy our lives. It's like if our ancestors were not able to, it's like we unconsciously don't give ourselves permissions. We make vows, we make promises, we do it the same way as they did. We sometimes carry physical things from them. We carry their trauma, their emotions, and that limits us. So with Family Constellations, what we're doing is getting into that part, that blind part that we don't know, unconscious part, to find out what am I carrying for my ancestors that's keeping me stuck here with joy, with abundance, with my work, with my partner, with my friends, with this situation in life, with this health issue, so that we're able to be free from that and start creating our own life without having to unconsciously be limited by what our ancestors struggled, because they don't want us to struggle anymore. So they actually want us to have fun and to enjoy our lives and to, connect to all that life can give to us. But we are the ones that with this childish kind of like love, abundant kind of mentality, we think that this is what they want. And then we do it like them or for them. And it's actually the opposite. They want us to be free, to enjoy, to have fun. Mm-hmm. So this tool is it's very powerful because it's what helps us to actually be able to change that. And so I do the Family Constellations. And when somebody needs some help integrating the work of the Family Constellations, then I do coaching sessions to help integrate that. And sometimes we do tapping, sometimes we do, strictly coaching. Sometimes we do different modalities to help in the integration process. So that's what I do.
So when you talk about ancestors, how far are we talking? How far are we going back?
So usually most of the things that we have in our life go to 3 to 4 generations back. But if there's something very tragic, something that was very impactful or that impacted a lot of people, a very deep trauma, that can go up to 7 generations. Mm. And it's interesting because in the Bible, and I'm not saying this because, from the religious perspective, but more as a historic perspective, that if it's there, it's because it's been known for a long period of time. There's a phrase that says something like the sins of our fathers are going to be carried up to the 6th or 7th generation. Mm. And this is where that is actually coming from, because, whoever wrote this, at that time, they had observed that when somebody would done something that hurt somebody else in a very deep way, their children will suffer, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, up to 6 and 7 generations. And that's where the phrase comes. And this is actually what we're doing in Family Constellations, is we have observed that we carry these from our ancestors, and it's not our responsibility. It is not us the ones that did the hurt. It is not us the one that experienced the trauma, the difficulty, the whatever happened to them. So we don't need to carry that. And if it's not useful to us, then we can let go of this aspect. So answering your question, mostly 3 to 4 generations, but it can be up to 7 generations. Wow. When there's also cultural trauma, like for example, the Jewish that have struggled for so many generations and struggles in a way that are so impact. The impact is so big, like in the war, the Holocaust, all of that. That affects many generations to come, and it's not only the previous war, but they have struggled for a long time. For example, slavery, also you can still see things from people that were slaves affecting people today, even if it was further generations back, but because it was something that happened for many generations and something so hard that you can still see that there's part of that.
Yeah, it kind of gives new meaning to the idea that if you don't remember history, you're doomed to repeat it, but in a different way. Because it's like, it's not like we personally are like remembering necessarily like the trauma of our ancestors, but yet we're still carrying it. But it sounds like remembering it, like kind of like working through it, it will set you free though, right?
Yeah, I love that. That perspective is wonderful. And however, it's not only remembering, it's remembering and honoring and respecting our ancestors. To be able to understand that whatever they did the best that they could. They didn't have the tools that we have today, and each person has their own entanglements. This is what we have from our ancestors, their own traumas, their own difficulties. So we connect to our ancestors, we acknowledge them, and we say thank you for what you did. Whatever you did was necessary for me to be here today, and I'm grateful for my life, and I honor and I respect you, and I let go of judgment and criticism because I know that you did the best that you could. And to all our ancestors, whatever they did in their lives is their responsibility, not ours, and we're not going to carry that anymore. So it's not just remembering, but remembering, honoring, and respecting our ancestors that really makes that shift.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me also of like, there's like more research coming out about like epigenetics of like that turning on and off different parts of your genes. And so like I imagine like more and more they're going to find out it's like, oh yeah, your past generations, this happening to them is like activating this gene in you, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this is connected to. The epigenetics is like the scientific explanations of this. And it's interesting to realize, because this has been known for a long time, but the epigenetics is something that's becoming even more known today because we have that capacity to understand that from the scientific point of view. And they're doing now a lot of studies that I think are going to help us understand in a deep level how all this happens. They're doing a lot of studies specifically in epigenetics of, people that experienced a big trauma, like for example, the 9/11, the children from the people that experienced that, the children, unborn children, or even children that were of people that were pregnant at that moment when it happened, and they studied those children, and some of them, most of them, have a lot of disorders, of problems, of anxiety, of difficulty concentrating, more than the average child of their age, and they were not alive at that moment. So you can immediately see how the impact is there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. How does like it affect us like physically? Obviously, like things like anxiety can affect you physically, but even like more like tangible ailments, how does it reside in your body?
So it's interesting because when we are doing the family constellations, there's a lot of sensations in the back, of this heaviness, of this, weight that we have in the back. So that's often what most people actually relate, like with the heaviness of what we carry from our ancestors. However, we can have the specific illnesses, specific problems in the body, in the physical body, like they did. I'm sure you've seen like generations where there's this illness that goes down from generation to generation. Sometimes it skips a generation, but you see that it's something that is carried, And, we understand the scientific point that is carried through the genes, but then it's the epigenetics. Why are some activated and why are not some activated? So then that's where the family constellations explanations come. If the trauma is still there, then that gene is going to be activated in all the generations to come. And until someone is able to heal that, then that deactivates that gene. And then that's not going to be active anymore in the next generations. So there's a lot of these entanglements that we carry from our ancestors that actually are going to manifest as physical illnesses or physical problems, just like they did. And the good news is that we're able to work with this and to bring some kind of relief on whatever we're carrying for our ancestors. But yeah, definitely it affects our physical body in different ways. Yeah.
So you talked about some of the tools that you use. You talked about like tapping, EFT, hypnosis. Is that correct? Did you say that?
Yeah, I didn't say hypnosis,
Okay.
but yeah. So when I do the family constellations, there's several things that come together. There is the basic understanding of how we do family constellations, but also there's a lot of intuitive work that we do when we're doing family constellations. There's also some channeling. So we get information. And I know channeling sometimes sounds like very woo-woo, very esoteric, very like, oh my goodness, what is this? This is strange. It doesn't exist. I don't want to think about it. And it's kind of like received this way. But we all do it all the time. I mean, when you think that when you want to do something, when you suddenly get like this inspiration and clarity of something, and you're able to, you're trying to write a paragraph of something and you're stuck and suddenly you get this, movement of inspiration that suddenly starts flowing. I mean, that's like a channeling. We're receiving information, we're receiving energy, we're getting this help. And how we receive this is difficult. It's not difficult, it's different with each person. Some people see like synchronicities. And, we're walking in the street and when somebody tells us something that, draws our attention, and then we see a sign that has the same word. And then suddenly we start, and so that's how we're getting information. It's a little bit like channeling, but through synchronicities. Sometimes people see visions. Sometimes people hear things. Sometimes people just know. Sometimes, the connecting with others and feeling things is also another of these abilities through how we feel. So all these are ways that we receive information. So this is one of the most important aspects that we use when we're doing constellations, because we're connecting to this part of the ancestors, and because there's so little that we know from them. I mean, when you said how many generations back does this go? If you think about 7 generations, I mean, I don't know how many people are there, but 100 and more than 100 for sure. I mean, I would have to make to count, but how many do we actually know? How many do we know of their lives? And, even our parents, how much do we know of them?
Mm-hmm.
We only know what we know from the moment that we've known them and what they have told us from before that. But what really happened in their life, we really don't know. So there's so little that we know. So we cannot access this information from what we know, because there's really so little that we know. So we're going to access it with our intuition, with this channeling ability of connecting what our body is connecting to. And if our body is connecting to this, then, we're able to find this information, because our body already has that information. We're just finding ways to access it. So that's like the main tools connected with the family constellations work. And then when I do the part of the coaching of the integration process for the people that want to do that, then, for example, emotions is a big part that we carry from our ancestors. So if I'm carrying anxiety, stress, grief, fear, anger from my ancestors, and I've been carrying it since the moment I was born, even though I do a constellation, if I'm carrying this for 40, 50 years, it's going to be hard to make a shift. So the tapping is a tool that helps so much with the emotions, with the part of the emotions, because it helps us do like a reset in our body. If I'm working with anger, and if for 40 years I have been reacting with anger in situations where, something triggers me, even though I do a constellation and I let go of the anger that I'm carrying for my ancestors, when that situation happens again, if I've been doing it that way for 40 years, my body has a memory, has, this pattern of doing things. It's going to step into it again. Mm-hmm. So tapping is really a wonderful tool to work on that part, in like reprogramming the body, especially in the part of the emotions. It's really, really helpful. And we can do tapping for difficult emotions that we have. But if the emotion's still connected to something of the ancestor, it's going to be hard for the tapping to work in a very deep and lasting way. So if the emotion does belong to an ancestor, it's important that we release it as we do any kind of work of dealing with the emotion, because if we don't release it, then it's going to be there, in an underlying way. So it's important that we do that work first. So tapping, I think it's a really wonderful tool that we do. And then the coaching is part of making a plan. Having an objective and deciding what am I going to do about it. So again, like following the same example, let's say that I worked on an anger in a constellation, an anger that I have that I'm carrying from an ancestor, and then I can do tapping to reprogram my body so that I don't have that automatic response of always going back to the anger. I don't have that pattern anymore. And then I'm going to start making a plan. I don't want to react this way anymore because this has been harmful for the people that I love and it's been harmful for me. So what am I going to do? So in this week to come, I'm going to start noticing what are my triggers. What are the things that trigger me? So I'm going to keep a journal, and every day in the morning or in the evening, I'm going to reflect on the day and see what are the things that triggered my anger, and I'm going to start writing them. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start making a list of all the triggers. And after I do the list of all the triggers, then I'm going to start creating new responses. I'm going to imagine that I'm having this situation in my life, and instead of reacting the way I've always reacted, I'm going to start creating a new way of reacting. I'm going to imagine it. I'm going to create a new story, because our brain, if I'm reacting with anger, it's going to always go to that pattern. It's like it has that path, and it has only that path. So if we want to start breaking that pattern, we need to give the brain a different path. So for the brain, there's like no difference in a deep level with reality and things that we imagine. So we can imagine a new path, and that creates a new path in our brain, even if we're just imagining it. So that when in real life I get to that trigger, our brain are going to have the option of going either with the pattern that's always been there or with this new path that we're creating. But the path is already there. So we'll be able to stop if we're working on this, to stop instead of reacting immediately, breathe deeply, wait a little bit for the anger to, the emotion to calm a little bit, and then react the way we want to react in that moment. And since we've practiced this new path, then it's going to be easier to then follow this path. But so then we would create a plan. What am I going to do in my daily life to be able to work with this anger so that it's not a problem anymore? And that's what we would do in the coaching sessions. And then we would, see each other a week later and see you. So tell me what worked, what did not work, what can, do different, what you want to do to work now with this another step. And that's what we would be doing from the point and the perspective of the coaching part.
Yeah. Okay. What about folks that are not very intuitive, that are not very in touch with, because especially I feel like that's something that often kind of gets stuffed down, to be nope, ignore your gut feelings, ignore this. What how do you help people to kind of be no, let's trust, let's listen to what your body is saying and your intuition is saying,
there are even studies on this, on how our body knows. And this is nothing, very mysterious. There's nothing very woo-woo. There's actually scientific studies. there's this book from Malcolm Gladwell that's called Blink, I think, that talks a lot about the intuition and about all these studies that they have done and the intuition. And they've done, for example, there's a study, I don't remember really the details, but there's a study of people that, they gave them cards. And then if they get a completely random, and if they get a specific card, they win some points, and if they don't, then they lose. So, it's something like they can choose 2 different cards. And if they choose, and they don't know anything, so they choose this one, and it's like, oh, you got a point. Oh, great. And then they choose the next one, and then 2 cards, and then they choose this other one. Oh, you didn't get a point. But there's like no obvious logic. However, after certain rounds, there is a pattern, because obviously, there's, let's say that the ones that have their cards and the ones that have, certain numbers, or the ones that are red, or the ones that are, that come after the red one, are the ones that give the person the point. So after certain repetitions, we're going to learn, we're going to realize, oh, it's the ones that give me a point. So the interesting part of the study is that before people actually realized how it was that they were getting the points, their body was already reacting to it. So when there was a card that would give them a point and they were going to choose it, it was like the breathing was different. They were studying like all the different, like the sweating, the breathing, the heart rate, and so it would react the body in a certain way. And when they were going to choose a card that did not give them a point, then they started sweating, that the heart rate was like more tense, and they were more tense in the body. So this is the intuition, it's our body letting us know that what is the correct path. And the thing is that, we get, I don't know how many bites of information every day from everything that we're seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing, and we're not able to have that all information present because it's too much information. So we only notice something like, and again, I don't have the numbers of all these studies, but let's say we only notice like 5 or 10% of all the information that we're actually receiving. But the information is there in our brain. What we see, let's see, right now I'm looking at my computer, so I'm only looking at this, but on my vision, here there's a plant, here there's the window, and then my vision is getting all of this information. So I'm not putting attention to it, but the information is there. The sounds, so many things, the memories of what we have learned in the past that we're not accessing right now are still there, and our body's like connecting to all of this. So our intuition actually is helping us to give us information on what's the best way to act according to all of this information that our brain has, but that we're not aware of it because it's too much information. So sometimes we're not even aware that the information was there to start with. So our intuition is guiding us in this way. And like I said, there's a lot of scientific evidence of these experiments that they've done that, our intuition, our body reacts to the intuition, showing us that, the path, even a little bit before we're actually realizing that that's the path. So if we start to trust our intuition, we'll be able to, to do things in a better way for us. If we trust our gut feeling, because it's not just, if you don't want to believe in it, that there's anything else other than us here in this world, it's still guiding us with all this information that we actually received from the environment, from what we've seen, from what we've learned. The intuition is our gut feeling still telling us that this is what's best for us. And if you want to be open to more, to something more, you can say, yes, it's through my intuition that also my guides are talking to me, that I receive guidance, that I receive help through, whatever's out there. If you're spiritual, you can think God, source, the divine. And it's like through this, how we feel our intuition that we get these messages. And then going back to what's out there, you want to maybe say, I don't believe in anything of this. And when, often happens that there's a party or, you go to somebody's house and then you suddenly enter a room and there's some people there and nobody's saying anything and you kind of feel tense. and kind of like stress, like, oh, you know that something's going on there, that maybe we're fighting, maybe somebody offended somebody else. It's like this sensation. Again, our intuition is connecting to whatever happened. Maybe it's connecting to the body language that we're not aware. Maybe there's other things we don't know, but our intuition is like grabbing all of that and telling us, oh, something happened here, what do you want to do? And then we say, well, I'm going to go to another room, I'm going to go to the kitchen to help in the kitchen. I'm going to think about something else to do, because I don't know what happened there. I don't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens that so often that there's even this expression that we're able to, I think it's cut the air with a knife.
Yeah, sure.
So, that's an expression that almost everybody knows. Why is this expression so common that everybody knows it? Because it happens. And whether as much as we want to deny it, if there's an expression that everybody knows about this, it's because there must be something. So it's interesting, and of course everybody is free to do and whatever they want to do. But in this specific part, it's interesting how much scientific proof there exists about the gut feeling, about the intuition, about this being guided, however you want to call this guidance, whether if it's like from outside and inside, or only from inside, from what we have observed, what we have learned, that we're not aware of it in each moment. But there is some guidance that we receive through the sensations that we get with our intuition.
Mm-hmm. What about for someone that was like adopted, for example, and they don't know anything at all about their ancestors? How does it work for someone like that?
Yeah. So it's exactly the same, and we can do exactly the same work. And because this is working in a very deep level, in an unconscious level, it really doesn't matter if we know what happened or if we don't know what happened, and if we know our ancestors or we don't know our ancestors. And it's a little bit like I was telling you, if I'm carrying something from 4 generations back, I mean, how much do I know from those ancestors? So it really doesn't matter if I was adopted or not. How many people right now know about 4 generations back? And with the entanglements that we have from the family system, almost all the entanglements we have come from our biological parents, whether we knew them or not, our biological family system, whether we knew our system or not. And the people that are adopted out of this gratefulness for their adoptive parents may start taking some of the entanglements from their family system, out of this gratefulness for them taking care of them. But because what brought us to life is from our biological system, that's where we get most of the entanglements. Mm-hmm. So when we're doing this work, we can do this work without naming anybody from our ancestors. Just saying, going back to this example, I may have some anger, and then this anger is coming from someone, and I'm going to release this anger because it's not mine. I don't need to know exactly who this someone is in order for the healing to take place. I need to make the decision to honor and respect whoever that is, even if I don't know them, and to let go of the part that is not mine. And this is what the healing is. The knowing helps our mind, the conscious part, understand. And it's nice, because it's, if I know my grandfather and this was this person that was so angry all the time, and then I realized that that's where the anger is coming from, it's like, yeah, of course, I get it, and I see how this, hurt his life and the people, and I don't want to do the same, but I don't want to judge him because I don't know what happened in his life. So I'm going to let go of this, and I'm going to start working on this to do something different. So it tells a story which we like to actually hear and understand, because it makes sense. But most of the time we don't know, and it is not needed for the healing to take place. And thinking about these stories, there's a series in Netflix called Another Self. The series is in Turkish. I don't know if you've seen it. It has That's so funny. Something I said, now Siri was talking to me because it responded to to this series. It responded to Siri. So now it was talking to me. So I was just putting it off. So it's about family constellations. It's dubbed in English and it's really good. To listen to it in English. Sometimes it's not so good, but this one it's good. And it's about family constellations. So because it's a TV, when they're doing a family constellation, they are the representatives, the people that are there doing the constellation are representing something from the past. Because it's TV, that turns out to the story of what actually happened in the past. So we see the actual, people, grandparents, great-grandparents, and in the war, in a situation where somebody was killed, in whatever happened. Mm-hmm. And so we see the part of the constellation in the actual time frame of the story, but we also see the whole story of what happened in the past. And it's like, oh yeah, I get it. So it's a great way to really understand what's going on here in the family constellations. However, I'm always telling my clients that when we're actually doing the constellations, we don't have that part. We actually don't know that part. Yeah. And in the series, it's nice because we get to understand in a way that it makes sense with our logical brain, but we don't know really when we're doing this work. So we don't need to know. We just know that we have an entanglement and that we're ready to release it. And that's the important part.
Yeah. How does letting go of past family, ancestral trauma, how does it help people to enjoy their lives more and have more fun?
Yeah. So when we are... So there are different kinds of entanglements. This is what we're carrying from our ancestors. We can have entanglements of, I'm going to do it the same way as you did, as it happened to you. So then, if they had struggles with abundance, they didn't have enough, then I'm always going to find ways to lose money. If they didn't have a good relationship with a partner, then I'm going to unconsciously find partners that are going to help me fail in the relationship, because that's actually what I want to do it the same way as they did. But we can also have entanglements with excluded members of the family system, the rejected ones, because everybody belongs. So when somebody's excluded, the younger generations, to help heal the family system, can have entanglements with excluded members of the family system. And then we carry their patterns, we carry their characteristics, we carry and start representing the reason for which they were excluded from the family system. So we're doing it exactly the same way as they did, to make an awareness in the family that a person like this is missing in the family system. There's a lot of excluded members that are they're not alive, and that's the reason why they're excluded. For example, abortions and miscarriages. Members of the family that died in a tragic way or that died young, and people just don't want to remember because it's too painful to remember. So we have an entanglement of this type, of somebody that passed away, that wasn't able to live. It's a little bit like we're following them. It's like we have a close relationship, a close attachment to them. And if we are with these members of the family system that we're not able to live, then we are not in life. And what does it mean to be in life? Being in life means that we give ourselves permission, that we have access, that we have the opportunity to have abundance, health, joy, fun, success, good relationships, all these that life can give to us. We have that and have the access to it when we're in life. But if we have an entanglement with somebody that's dead, we're not in life. So it keeps us away from that. If we have entanglements with members of the family system that had a very hard life and had no time to enjoy life, could not even think about that, then it's like, I'm going to do it like you do. Life is tough. This is the way it is. We don't have fun. We work hard. We suffer. This is what we do. So I'm going to do it the same way as you did. So then, so that's what I start unconsciously looking and finding in my life. I find there's a job opportunity and I'm going to take the one that's going to be tough, difficult, because this is what we do. So when we start to work on this, letting go of what's not ours, then we're going to be able to start having access, to give ourselves permission to let go of what's keeping us, keeping us from being in life, from being with abundance, with joy, with health, with success, with love, with fun, with beauty, with all this that life can give to us. So then I'm able to say, for example, I know that you suffered with a lack of abundance, and this was your experience, and I honor and I respect you. And now I'm going to choose to do something different, because there's no point of me suffering and just continuing with the suffering in the system. I'm going to start, choose to do something different, so that your suffering was not in vain. And I now choose to have abundance. I now choose to have fun. I now choose to have joy. And I choose to do this so that my ancestors also connect to me through this experience, and they're able to connect to the part that they were not able to experience. So we start letting go of the part that's limiting us, being away from what we want, away from having fun. And we start choosing to have fun, because we also give ourselves permission. Nobody needs to give us permission. If we're small children, yes, we need the permission of our ancestors, of our parents, because we're still depending on them. But once we become adults, we are the ones that give ourselves permissions to have joy, to have fun, to have abundance, and all this that life can give to us. We are the ones that actually choose, I want to be in life. And this does not mean that we're not going to have problems or difficulties, because that's what life is made of. We grow, we learn, we expand through these experiences. But when we're able to do this work, those situations are not going to limit us anymore from having joy, from having, this connection with enjoying our life, with whatever that is. It's like we're able to flow in our life instead of getting stuck with these problems and patterns and difficulties and challenges. We're not stuck there anymore. We're able to flow. We're able to enjoy, even though we have those problems, even though I have a difficulty with this person, even though I have this illness, even though I have this, don't have a job right now. It's not going to keep me from, having fun, looking at the beauty, looking at the kindness, and being able to help others if they need help, and being able to accept help. And so that's what being in life means. And this is what we do when we're able to let go of those parts of the family constellation that we're carrying, these parts that we carry from our ancestors, these unresolved issues and trauma that we're carrying. We're able to then be in life and enjoy life and have fun.
Yeah. Are you okay if we move on to other things to get to know you a little bit more?
Sure.
All right. I always ask everyone, how do you define fun?
How do I define fun? I would have to say is that what brings a smile, what brings a laughter, what brings enjoyment, what brings this connection and different vibration inside of us, that just makes us feel alive. I think that's the way that I would define fun. Although, this is what I'm thinking about right now. I actually never thought about the definition of fun.
Yeah, but it's funny because I've asked now, I don't know how many people this question, and everyone has like slightly different. I mean, they're all very similar responses, but it's like slightly different because we don't really think about it that much. Like we don't think about like what does fun mean? What is fun? Like, that kind of thing. So yeah. So I like to hear what people's,
Yeah.
what comes out,
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask you, what is your definition of fun? I'm curious, especially like having all these experiences. I'm wondering, what is yours?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say lightness and flow. And someone had like a really great definition that I can't remember, that I would just like to adopt myself. But basically it's like, yeah, when you are no longer aware of where you like the time and stuff like that, where you just are like, oh my goodness, that time just went by. I just don't even know what happened. It was so great, like that kind of thing, and that lightness. So that's what I think.
Oh, I love that part. Yeah. Yeah.
I also always like to ask people what their play personality is, and I apologize for not sending the list so you could like look at it first, but there are 8 play personalities according to the National Institute of Play. So they are Joker, kinesthetic, competitor, storyteller, explorer, collector, and director, and creative artist. And you can be more than one.
My goodness. I don't know, because I don't know exactly what each one actually means on on this context. What resonates more is kinesthetic, but I'm not sure, because I don't really know what each one means on the context. Okay. Could you explain a little bit?
So kinesthetic definitely is like, do you like to move your body, dance? Like, does that bring you a lot of joy to, move your body and experience things through your body and things like that? So, that's that one. And then competitor, I'm sure, yeah, that one's pretty self-explanatory, because it's just like, you like competition. Joker, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Storyteller, do you like to tell stories? Do you like other people's stories? Like, do you connect people through stories? Things like that. Explorer, that can be like exploring, like physically, like traveling, but also I think it's like people that, like, if you like to do research, like exploring topics and things like that, that is also part of the explorer. Creative, I mean, that can be creative in a lot of different ways. Like, I remember talking to someone, and she knew she was a creative, but she didn't realize her husband was a creative, but he was an architect. And it's like, well, of course he's a creative. Like, just because he's using math and like is creative in a different way, like it's still being very creative to be an architect. So, which one did I not talk about? Collector. They, collect experiences, objects, obviously. Yeah. And then director is someone who likes to plan things, I like to have people over. I like to like plan events, like with people, be like, oh, hey, anyone want to come and do this? And I'm like this, the one who's making it happen, like that kind of thing. I think that's all of them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was very interesting to learn about. I never really explored that. So thank you. I learned a lot of things today.
Yeah.
I have to say, now that I heard the explanation, storytelling would be first. Yeah, and then the kinesthetic, would be second.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that, because I feel like in the work that you're doing, there's, even if you don't know like specifically the stories, there's still stories there. Yeah. So yeah, I can see that. When's the last time you laughed so hard that it hurt?
Isn't that nice? I wish that it would happen more often.
Me too.
It happened recently, but when it happened, and I don't remember why it happened, but I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I haven't laughed this way in such a long time. Like, it happened maybe like 3 months ago, but before that, maybe it hadn't happened like in 2 years or something like that. But I don't remember why it happened, but I know that it was recent, because I had that thought of, wow, this hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, ultimately, it doesn't really matter why it happened. But like, just having that awareness of being like, oh, that feels so good, Yeah.
Yeah.
What is something that's making you happy this week?
It's making me happy that my daughter is doing volleyball at school, and this was like her dream, and she finally achieved it. And so this is the second week, and the first week it was a mess because it's so demanding. I mean, she has to stay every day after school for several hours, and sometimes she needs to do go to the games. And after she finished that, she goes to her normal volleyball practice. So some days she leaves like, 8 in the morning to go to school and comes back at 8:30 in the evening, nonstop.
Yeah.
So the first week, it really caught us by surprise, like how intense it was going to be. But the second week, we were able to organize ourselves better. And so it's been so much nicer, and it's been such a joy to see her so happy, and that she's able to do this. It's something that she worked for so hard that she was able to achieve it, and she's in the moment right now of really enjoying it. And to see her enjoy that brings me joy. And because this week we were able to flow better with everything, then I'm so happy about that. Because last week it was like we all ended up exhausted. We were like, oh my goodness, we have to do something different.
Yeah.
So this week we did, and it was like, yay.
Okay.
So that's what I'm happy about.
I'm glad that it worked out, because like, yeah, I'm sure in that moment it was just like, I don't know how we're gonna do this.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is that they told us like just the day before what was going to be the schedule. So it wasn't like we knew in advance for several weeks in order to organize ourselves. It was just like one day. And I was like, well, no organization happened, of course. There was no time.
Yeah.
It was like,
completely.
okay, go, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just too bad that like that was such a disservice to all of you to just be like, just throw it at you. Here you go. Like,
yeah, my goodness.
oh yeah. Well, I'm glad it's working out better. And yeah, that sounds awesome that she's able to do that, able to pursue that.
Yeah.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
I've always, of course, with the superheroes movies, we think about this all the time.
Yeah.
And then you ask the question, I'm like, well, what have I thought about before? And what am I thinking right now? Nothing comes to my mind about what I really want to. Let me think. What would I want? There's a movie. I don't remember the name, but it's about this guy that suddenly when he reaches 18, his father comes and tells him there's an ability in our family that starts when you're, only men, and starts when you get to the age of 18, and it's that we can, travel to the past. And then you just go into a closet and you like think about it, and then you open the closet and you'll be there. And so he starts doing this and starts going back to his life and to like reliving the moments that he didn't enjoy, to try to do them differently. And then he would see how that affected the trajectory of his life. And he can always go back as long as he doesn't have children. But once the children are born, if he goes back, he's not going to have those children anymore. If he changes anything, he's not going to have those children anymore. So then from the moment that the children are born, after that, he's not able to change anything. He has to move forward from that moment on. So, but he can change things from the moment that the children were born forward. But anyway, so the story is that he starts going back, trying to change lots of things and trying to change things and things and things. And at some point, he realizes that there's a lot of things that he cannot change, no matter how many things. There was this girl that he likes. And then when he was 16 years old, and he tried everything to get her to like him, and nothing ever worked. And then he suddenly meets her, like when he's like 40 years old, and he's different. He has more confidence, and she's like, "Ooh, I don't know why we never, connected when we were teenagers. Maybe something could have happened." And he's thinking, "No. I tried everything, and there was no way that we would end up together. I know, this is what he thinks." So he realizes that some things you cannot change. So he started then going back to not change things, but to relive them with more presence, with more without so much stress, and trying to see how to help people that were around to do better, considering that was the situation. And then at some point, he stopped going to the past because he learned how to do that in the present, and just being there present and being able to enjoy the present moment and help others with what's going on in life. And that's what comes to my mind. I would love to go to the past, but not to change things, but just to live them with more presence, with more joy, with more acceptance, without trying to fight everything. So that would be my superpower that I would like to have.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a great superpower. Like, how often are we like, do we like look back and are like, oh, I wish I had like appreciated like this time in my life, this person, like myself more, like when we're young, like we're like so many of us are so hard on ourselves back then. It's just like,
Yeah.
why couldn't I just appreciate like how awesome I was, like that kind of thing, Yeah. Yeah. Like you're not as broken as you think you are.
Yeah.
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 No, I like that because that's not one that people think of. Yeah. How about I love talking about like travel, and I saw that you have been to so many places and lived so many places. What are like your three favorite places?
I like, let me think. I like France in general. Paris for sure, but I lived in France for 1 year, and it was such a wonderful experience because I got to travel a lot to all the little tiny, like insignificant, that would feel insignificant towns. And everything is like a postcard. Everything is so pretty. It's just amazing. It's just beautiful, and the food, oh, it's delicious. And so I think France would be one of my top. And then the second that comes to mind is Thailand, and the islands, when there's this clear, beautiful water, warm water. I live in California, and the water of the ocean, oh my goodness, is so cold.
It is
I
cold.
cannot, go past my knees. It's just, I can't. And I love the ocean. I love to float in the ocean. So I love the tropical water of the ocean where it's warm when you're not, shivering, and you don't need like a very thick wetsuit to be able to stay there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And so I traveled there, and the views and the water, the color and everything was just magical. It was really so, so pretty. So that would be one of my second places. I don't know, because I'm like naming countries in general. And then I'm from Guatemala, and I love my country. I really, really think it's so pretty, and I love the people there. And it's for a lot of years, they do these studies of, which are the happiest countries, and often Guatemala comes in top. And it's people, they're always happy. And even though their world is falling apart, there's so much violence, there's so many problems, there's so much poverty, but people are happy, really. You see them and they're happy. And I love this. And so I love to go back to my country and just to be there with the people, because it kind of like you get contagious of this like happiness of life, independent from the struggles of life. Is this part of just being the capacity of being happy with what there is. And I love to connect to that each time I go back to my country. Yeah. So those would be the three, like France and Thailand and Guatemala.
Yeah. How often do you get to go home?
I try to go at least once a year. So that's what I've been, all my family is there. My husband as well, his family's from there. So we do try to go to be able to visit everybody and to see them. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of countries, and I assume Guatemala too. I haven't been to Guatemala. There's just so much more like connection between people that is kind of missing in the United States a lot of times. Because the United States, we try to be like individuals, so much that we miss out on just kind of being like collective and together. And I feel like it definitely, like, people that are more together, I feel like I tend to be happier,
Well, one of the studies actually from happiness do say that the people that have a community, that are more involved in socializing with others do have happier lives. So there is some studies there.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah. How about let's do a couple of word associations and then I guess go, because we're getting to the 1 hour mark. What do you think of when you think of the word joy?
What comes is vibration. For me, joy is like this vibrating with life and with happiness and with being content and connecting to what is in the moment and the beauty, but it connects like to the vibration that we feel inside of our body. So that's what comes to my mind.
Yeah, that's good. How about stars?
So stars, what makes me think about the stars is that the universe, the complexity, the wide, how big the universe is, how many stars there are, and the numbers that are so amazingly big that we cannot even contemplate how big is the universe. And then, but thinking here in Earth with our star, our sun, and then I think about the people, and I think that everybody's a star. Everybody is also a star. So there's stars in the universe, but there's stars here on Earth, and everybody's a star. Is a star of their life. Is a star of what they want to be, and what is it that we want to be a star on? What's important to us, what we want to really excel and enjoy and have fun with. So, and each person is a different star and has different, different interest, and that's okay, but doesn't mean that there's things for each of us that can connect us to this joy in life. So that's what comes to my mind.
Yeah. How about money?
So when I think of money, I think of gratefulness, because when you are paying somebody money for something, it's a way of saying, thank you for your service, for this product. Even if you go to the supermarket, it's like you're getting some eggs and you're giving them money to say, thank you for the eggs. And the same, when you work, is your company is giving you money in a way of saying, we're grateful for the work that you're doing here. So thank you. Here's, so it's an exchange of love, of gratefulness. It's a flow in life, and it's and I think that it's there's a lot of beliefs about money that can get us stuck about not wanting it. It's hard, it's bad, it's this and it's that. But I think that it's actually the opposite. I think it's connected with love and gratefulness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say a lot of people's money mindset is probably very passed down. I'm sure there's generational trauma around money.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about trees?
So trees made me think about life and how we are all connected, because the trees, they connect. I for the ones that don't know, I live in California, close to where there's a lot of redwoods, and the redwoods are not individual trees, but they're actually this underneath the roots are connected to each other. So it's like this whole system, like an organism underneath of all the trees connecting to each other, and having this wisdom, having this way of working with each other in order to connect to life, to be alive, to breathe. And then through this system of roots, then they're able to detect when there's a space for a new tree to be born, and then a new tree is going to be born from there. So most of the trees are not born from the seeds, but from this system that's there underneath already, that notices that there's a necessity there for a tree or an opportunity for a new tree to grow. So it starts growing from already the roots underneath. And then if there's an illness and a tree is dying, then it's going to send information about how to heal that illness, because that tree already has it through the roots to the other ones, so that the other ones already have those defense mechanisms for that illness that's coming. So it's this. So that's what made me think about trees, this connection with life and with everything, with community, with this capacity of being all connected.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. I didn't actually know that the redwoods were all connected like that. That's
It's
really,
amazing. The
yeah.
forest, of course, if you see one redwood there in the middle of, the city, that probably is not connected to others because they're not there. But with the forests of redwoods are all connected. All the
Yeah.
trees are connected underneath with the roots.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember going to the going and seeing them in the parks and like, oh my God, it's like magical there. So
It's
yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing.
What do you think of when you think of music?
I think about rhythm. I think about dancing. I think about joy. I think about movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Just thinking about it.
All right, one last one. What do you think about when you think of home?
So home, I think about my family. So I always think that I have two homes, the one here with my husband and my daughter, and the one in Guatemala where my parents are and where I grew up. They are actually staying in the house where I lived all my life since the moment I was born until I left. That's where they are right now. So it makes me think about family because I think home is where your family is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on. It was a great conversation. And where can the audience find you?
So my website is coachingandconstellations.com. And all my information is there, the events, the sessions, the information about coaching, about family constellations, my videos, and the links to my YouTube channel. So you can find everything there in one place. So that would be the best place to find information about me.
All right. Coachingandconstellations.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, well, thank you. You too. This was so much fun. I
Yeah,
enjoyed our conversation.
me too. Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.